Hello, folks. I'm Peter Lemieux with Rounding Third and Batter Sports. I tell baseball stories, all kinds of baseball stories from the present, the past, not the future. My topic today has to do with shortened careers, careers that ended way too early, sometimes for tragic reasons. I'm not talking about that guy who comes up and in his first 5 games, he hits 4 home runs and you think you got the next Babe Ruth and he ends up in time just being an average player. That happens all the time. I'm talking about these were legitimately amazing players who we never got to see enough of. I have my top 5 list, but being that these are kind of tragic stories, perhaps top 5 isn't a good way to do it. But let me start. Number 5, Mark the Bird Fidrych. I actually talked about him in another show. It's in the archives. Mark the Bird Fidrych in 1976 dominated baseball because he was an unusual and very likable character. He would go out on the mound and he would pat the mound down. He would talk to the baseball. He would run around the infield congratulating players for making a play. And the fans just love his animated enthusiasm. But on top of that, he was just a simple guy, a country fella who never really knew he was going to be good, I guess. In 1976, as a rookie, 234 earned run average, 19-9 record, okay? Second in Cy Young Award voting, voted to start the All-Star game. Just amazing. The biggest thing I have to tell you about Mark Fidrych happened on June 28th, Monday Night Baseball against the Yankees. Full crowd, 48,000 people in Tiger Stadium as Fidrych on national television beat the Yankees 5-1, pitched the whole game. By the way, 24 complete games in this year. And 48,000 people would not leave the stadium. They stood there cheering until he came out. Just he took over baseball. He really did. Everybody loved him. Get this figure. Home games in Detroit when he started, 33,000 average attendance. All the other home games, 13,000. He was the guy. Now the tragedy. During spring training, he hurt his knee shagging fly balls. So he had to be held out a little while. Now, whether that affected his real problem or not, we're not sure. But on the 4th of July, he said he felt his arm go dead. Now, this is 1977. We found out 8 years later that he had torn his rotator cuff, and they had no idea what to do with that. So no matter how hard he tried to come back, and he only made 2 more starts in 77, he wasn't the same. Earned run average over 4. He just didn't have the stuff anymore. We lost him because of an injury. The tragedy, we didn't get to see just one of the most likable and popular baseball players of my lifetime. Number 4, from the city of Boston, Tony C. Conigliaro. Tony Conigliaro came up rookie in his first season, only playing part-time. The guy hit .290 with 24 home runs and 52 runs batted in. First time he came up to bat in Fenway Park, he hit a towering home run over the big green monster. What was interesting about that, oh, by the way, first pitch in the stadium, it was a John F. Kennedy Memorial Library Day. In the crowd was Robert and Ted Kennedy. First pitch, home run. He led the league in home runs the next year with 32. In 1965, another 32 home runs. Do you know this guy had 100 home runs by the age of 22? He was, plus the fact, he was a local guy, okay? And everybody in Boston was in love with Tony C. Injuries. He got hit and broke his bone in his arm, but that was minor. After he came back from that, the real tragic thing is Tony C got hit by a pitch on his left cheekbone. He had to be carried off the field in a stretcher. When he left, he had a 2300 vision with severe headaches. It took a year and a half for him to, quote, recover. However, Tony admitted in the years he played after that injury, he closed one eye when he came to bat so that he could see the pitch. He did okay, got traded to the Angels, but basically his career as a hero in Boston with 100 home runs by the age of 22 ended at the age of 26 years old because a pitch hit him in the face. Terrible, terrible injury. Number 3, shortened careers. I have 5 for number 3. Cleveland Indians in the mid-50s, Herb Score. I don't know if people can realize how amazing Herb Score was. We might have been talking about Sandy Koufax. I mean, this guy came up, and Cleveland had good pitchers at this time, got into the starting rotation, rookie year, age of 21. He was 16-10, 285 earned run average. But get this, he struck out 245 batters, a major league record that stood for almost 30 years before it was beaten by Dwight Gooden. In 1956, he did better. 20-9, 253 home run, 263 strikeouts. He only allowed 5.5 runs for every 9 innings, not 5.5 runs, 5.5 hits for every 9 innings he's pitched, which was a Cleveland record for another 12 years before that was defeated. However, in 1957, his third year, Gil McDougall of the Yankees hit a line drive right off his head, and blood all over the pitching mound. He went out on a stretcher. Gil McDougall was so upset he never ran to first. He ran directly to the pitcher's mound, and he said after the game, if he loses an eye, I'm retiring from baseball. Well, fortunately, he didn't lose his eye. He came back. It took him a couple years, but he came back. He said he felt great, but it was different. His pitching motion had changed. Now, he claims this isn't true, but most of the people who studied him said he has an innate fear of the ball coming back at him, which is understandable. So he changed his motion. When he changed his motion, he picked up some bad habits. So what happened? 9-11 record, 471 earned run average, only 147 strikeouts. Basically, his career ended after 2 seasons because of a severe line drive that hit him in the head. Now, just to tell you how wonderful he was, Mickey Mantle told us that Herb Score was the toughest American League left-hander pitcher he ever faced. Yogi Berra, when he picked the greatest team of all time, chose Herb Score to be the pitcher. But we never got to see how great Herb Score could have been, retiring after several years as a modest 55 wins, 46 loss guy. Line drive did him in. The second most tragic, and if you hear this one, you'll say, oh my goodness, what if this is the second, what's the first? A wonderful player, Lyman Bostock, 2 years as in his early career with the Minnesota Twins, finished first season, 323 batting average, 4th in the league. Second season, 336 batting average, 2nd in the year. An amazing outfielder. He wasn't great for power, but great outfielder playing all 3 positions. There was a scandal of sorts that came about because of the ownership in the Twins, and Bostock became a free agent after 2 years. He signed with the California Angels, which at the time was an amazing contract. They signed him for $2.3 million over 6 years. I mean, that's minimum wage today. But for Lyman Bostock, that was amazing. He immediately turned around and donated $10,000 to a church in Birmingham, Alabama, to rebuild its Sunday school. Now, when the season started with the Angels, Lyman Bostock had his worst month of the year. He batted only 150 in the first month of the year. He went to the ownership, at the time it was Gene Autry, and he wanted to give all his money back. He said, I want to return my salary for April because I didn't earn it. Autry, of course, refused because he said, yeah, if I take that, you're going to come back when you have a good month and want to double your pay. A deal's a deal, you keep it. He didn't keep it. Lyman Bostock took his first monthly salary from the Angels and gave all of it to charity. We're talking about a very special human being here. He went on to hit 300. In his fourth season career, he had a 311 career batting average. Yeah, I said that right. 4 years. After the end of his second year, it was right toward the end of the season, they were playing a game in Chicago. And Lyman Bostock had an uncle, he lived there. So after the game, he went to his uncle's house and got a phone call from a young lady he had tutored earlier in his life, and she wanted to see him. So he and the uncle went to this lady's house, and her name was Joan Hawkins. And her girlfriend was there, her name, more famous, Barbara Smith. They had a nice dinner, and then they were going to drive the girls home. The uncle and Joan got in the front seat. Lyman and Susan got in the back seat. Here's what nobody knew, especially Lyman. Susan had an ex-husband who was maniacal and believed that Susan was, after she divorced him, was constantly having affairs with men. They drove up to a stop sign. The ex-husband drives up next to him, takes out a gun, and tries to kill his ex-wife. Problem: the bullet went into the temple of Lyman Bostock's head, and at the age of 27, he was dead. 4 years of this amazing young man, talented baseball man, generous, giving human being, and he's dead. There's 4 careers that we as fans never got to see because of tragedies. Mark Fidrych, Herb Score, Tony Conigliaro, and now Lyman Bostock. Peter, that Lyman Bostock story is the worst. Who possibly could be number one in shortened careers? You have to come back for that one. I'm going to do that story next on Rounding Third. Folks, it's always fun to share with you. Please like, subscribe, comments to me. Tell me other people, great players who played too short a time for us to realize how good they were. Make a guess at whose Peter number one tragedy is. Hey, pleasure talking with you folks as always. Have a great day. Remember, baseball, the primary and best sport ever made. Talk to you soon, folks. Have a wonderful day.